Are you taking on NaNoWriMo for the first time this year and want to know how to prepare? In this video, we'll talk about some of the key ways to prep for NaNoWriMo so that you're ready to take on the challenge by November 1st. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a professional writer, writing coach, and I've taken on National Novel Writing Month and completed it every year since 2017. This year, I'm trying to keep my streak alive, so we'll see how that goes. But I love helping other writers organize their writing process so that they can finish their projects and meet their goals. And what goal is more fun than trying to win National Novel Writing Month? So I'm going to walk you through what I do to prepare and give you some tips and tricks that I learned through my 4 years experience on what works well, what doesn't work, and how you can win the challenge. So let's get into it. The importance of prepping for NaNoWriMo. Yeah, you can jump in with just an idea and a dream and start writing. I did that my first Nano in 2017, and I ended up with 50,000 words by November 30th of a story that did not make sense and did not go anywhere and took me forever to build upon in the next year's Nanos. It was fun, it was really creative, but it was really disorganized, and it took me years to work out what was actually happening in that story. So that's not my suggested way of how you take on Nano, because if you're doing National Novel Writing Month, you likely want to finish a novel that you can then build on after November. So the more preparation you do before, the more coherent your novel will likely be by the end of November. So what do we do to start prepping for NaNoWriMo? I suggest you do 3 things before November 1st. First, find a premise for your story. If you have no idea how to do that, I've made a video that you can check out. I'll link it above. But what will your story be about? What is going to be the lesson that your main character is going to learn that's going to drive your story forward and give it focus and direction? Once you find out a premise, you can do the second thing you need to do to prepare for Nano, which is figure out your characters. How do each of your characters think about your premise? Do they agree? Do they disagree? This will help you flesh them out. And if you want to know more about how to do that, I've also made a video that I will link above. Finally, make a detailed outline. I'd suggest doing at least 1 to 3 drafts of an outline, with each draft getting more specific. Trust me, when November rolls around and you're in the midst of Nano, you're not going to have time to be like, let me just brainstorm the plot really quickly while I keep writing. That's not going to happen. If you want to walk through how to make a simple 3-part outline for your story, check out my video on that as well. And my final word on all of this is to take on a project you can easily prepare for. If you want to start writing an epic fantasy novel that you think will be 200,000 words and you're just prepping for it now, maybe that's not going to set you up for the most success during Nano. Either start working out the details of that fantasy world way in advance, or pick a project for Nano that doesn't require as much headspace for world building. Another key step in preparing for Nano is to figure out what kind of schedule you can keep in November. When can you fit in writing time? From my experience, you want to give yourself at least an hour and a half every day to meet your word count goal, unless you have a certain day during the week where you can write multiple hours. You may have to break it up into chunks, doing half an hour in the morning, half an hour on your lunch break, half an hour in the evening. It all depends. But it's important to think through and make a plan of when you're going to write before November rolls around. That way you're not like, oh, I'll just fit it in whenever I can. Because trust me, you will not fit it in. Things will get in the way and you'll be like, oh crap, now I'm 3 days behind. What am I going to do? My life is over. I've lost this challenge. It's only November 3rd. So don't do that. And I'd suggest whenever you can, if you can give yourself more than an hour and a half to write, do that. You may not end up needing the extra time, but it'll do 3 things. 1, it'll account for days when the words are coming really slowly, because you will have days where you're writing so fast you're like, I'm killing it today. And then you'll have days where you're like, I don't even know how to make a sentence. What are words? So giving yourself a little extra room in your schedule can account for those days where the words just aren't flowing as well. The second thing is, if you end up not needing the extra time because you write all of your words for the day in an hour instead of 2, you've got all that extra time that you could do whatever you want with. And then the third thing it'll do is give you extra time on the days when the words are flowing so you can get ahead of the word count. But if you can't fit in that much writing every day, my suggestion is to pick a day where you can at least give yourself a 2 to 3 hour chunk for writing. So even if you can only set aside half an hour every morning to write, try to find at least a 2 to 3 hour block on one day where you can get a few more words in. So now let's talk about how to tackle the daily word count goal. First, I have a video coming out next week on how to organize your time during your writing sessions, so make sure you check that out. But otherwise, it's about knowing what to expect and keeping your mindset in the right place. So what should you expect? You'll either be able to write all 1,667 words at once, or you'll have to break it up. So getting all of your words in one session is a great option if you have longer chunks of time to write. Personally, I prefer this method because it helps my brain stay focused on what scene I'm in, what chapter I'm working on. So if you can manage it, I would suggest trying to get all your words in one session. And then just know that some days you're not going to hit the word count total. Some days you're going to be so busy or things are going to come up that are just going to take all your writing time away. So don't beat yourself up if that happens. Expect that you will have days where you're not meeting the word count, or even when you don't write anything. And remember that whenever you can get ahead, even by a few words, it's going to make a big difference. So let's move on to mindset. Aside from having your story prepped and your schedule ready to go, this is the most important thing about Nano. So if you're struggling with your thoughts and your motivation around writing, you can check out my video on 4 common mindset blocks that writers face and how to shift your perspective on them to stay motivated. But I'm going to walk you through 4 different things to think about to keep your mind in the game when you're taking on Nano. Number 1 is do not go into Nano expecting it to be too hard, too impossible, or like you won't win the challenge. You're setting yourself up for failure. Yes, Nano is hard. It's crazy. You're writing 50,000 words in a month. Normal people don't do that. So you need to be your biggest cheerleader. Believe you can do it. And if you need help remembering that, find some writing friends on Instagram. It's a great community. You can find me there at Megan McLean. I will encourage you all through Nano. Speaking of being encouraged, the second thing to keep in mind is don't get discouraged. Like I said earlier, there will be days when you do not meet the word count. There will be days when you sit there for an hour and all you get are a couple sentences. There may be 3 or 4 days in a row where you only write a couple sentences. There will be moments when you fall behind. There will be moments when you feel overwhelmed. Do not give up. Do not give up. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do not give up. You just have to strategize and pivot. If you take all that stress and let yourself get overwhelmed, it'll block your creativity. So just remember, it's a fun challenge. You opted into it. You wanted to do this. You don't have to write perfect words every time. You just have to keep writing. If you do fall behind and you get discouraged during Nano, just put something down on the page every day. It's so easy to fall behind, and once you start falling behind more and more, every day it gets harder to catch up. So try not to skip any days if you can. Okay, the third thing to think about is actually something you should not think about, and that's the end goal. Do not think about the 50,000 words every day that you're writing, especially in the early days. Do not look at the 200 words you only managed to write on the first day and think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to meet 50,000 words. That's so many words. How do I do it? I'm freaking out. Nope, that's not, nope, failing. Jumping ship. Don't do that to yourself. There's a reason a lot of people, most people, don't do NaNoWriMo, because it's nuts. It's nuts. So don't think about the 50,000 words. The beautiful thing about Nano is that if you write only that small chunk of 1,667 words a day, every day, you will end up with 50,000 words by November 30th, and you don't have to worry about that. So my biggest advice for you on this is only focus on the words you need every day. Do not focus on how many words you have left. The fourth and final thing to think about as you prep for Nano is remember your why. Why are you taking on this challenge? Why are you writing this story? What's your motivation for doing this? Do you want to push yourself? Do you want to finally write that novel or that memoir that you've been waiting to do? Do you need and like the structure and accountability that happens with this kind of challenge? And what do you love about your project? Write all those reasons down on sticky notes, tape them all over your computer, all over your desk, wherever you'll see them. Put a reminder on your phone that pops up every day in the morning so you can read it and be like, okay, I know why I'm doing this. I'm really excited about it. Okay, so there you have it. Some of my sage wisdom from completing 4 tumultuous NaNoWriMos. Hopefully you won't make some of my mistakes if you follow these ways to prepare. Preparing your story with a premise, characters, and an outline, to thinking through your schedule and when you're going to fit in that at least hour and a half of writing time, to making sure you know what to expect as you start writing, and keep your mindset strong and committed. I know you'll be able to take on Nano and win the challenge. If you want more tips on doing NaNoWriMo, organizing your writing projects, or if you want to follow along as I upload vlogs and writing sprints for my own time during Nano, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you next time.